First story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not recognizing my ex-girlfriend? I saw my ex-girlfriend, 29 female, in the supermarket last week. She's employed as a cashier there. I did not recognize her at all. We broke up 7 years ago when I moved away to pursue a job opportunity. She also looks very different now. I genuinely did not remember or recognize her face. She looked kind of familiar, but for some reason, I just could not remember. She started talking to me, asking me how I have been, and I was like, sorry, do I know you? She got upset and said I was an a-hole, and it was awkward silence until I paid and left. Later, I recalled the incident to my brother, and he said it could be one of my ex-girlfriends. Then it finally triggered some memories, and I realized she was my ex-girlfriend. I deleted social media a few years back, and I only have one private Instagram account that limited people can view to, so I don't keep up or stalk any of my exes. Additionally, this particular ex had gained a lot of weight since we broke up, and she looked completely different from when we were dating. I saw her again this morning and told her that I was purposely ignoring her, but that I just didn't recognize her at first. She said she doesn't believe that, as we were together for 3 years, and it is impossible to forget someone you dated for 3 years. I pointed out that she looks very different now, and she teared up and asked me to get lost. My brother says she made a Facebook post about me. When your ex says he doesn't recognize you because you got too fat. The post got a lot of attention from her friends saying I was an a-hole. I didn't want to hurt her feelings, but it turns out I did. I'm not going to approach her anymore, but I want to know, am I the a-hole for not recognizing my ex-girlfriend? Edit. The face masks don't apply here because she was wearing a transparent face shield, not the face mask. All the employees serving customers at the store were wearing face shields. I was wearing a face mask, but I have a distinctive scar near my eyebrow that makes it easy for people to recognize me. Now for the top comments. Did you accidentally insinuate that you couldn't recognize her because of her weight gain? I think she might just have some insecurities and problems she needs to work through. No matter what you said or how you said it, she would have come out upset. Not the a-hole. I came here to say this. As a person who struggled with body image for a long time, I can pretty much assure OP that this is much more a reflection of her issues than his behavior. She's not happy about gaining weight. Most people aren't. And OP confirmed she doesn't look like the same person anymore. Definitely not an a-hole. Agree, not an a-hole. Just wanted to paraphrase a quote I also saw. Sometimes you are the villain in someone else's story, even if you didn't mean to be. Not the a-hole. You never called her fat, and gaining or losing weight can really change the way someone looks. There was probably nothing you could have done or said to make the situation better after the initial incident, because she's insecure about her weight gain. Best to just move on and not worry about what's happening on social media. Pre-COVID times, I ran into an ex in another country. Crazy small world. And he had no clue who I was. I had lost a significant amount of weight, chopped my hair off, got tattoos. I thought it was hilarious, and I gave him so much crap in a joking way. We got up. I met his fiancée, and then we parted amicably and with a funny story. Part of me expects to someday run into them again, and I will 100% pretend to not recognize them. Yeah, I said she looks so different now compared to when we were dating. I never directly said she gained weight or got fat. My brother says her social media is full of self-hating posts. I feel kind of bad thinking I might have contributed to that. No a-holes here. It's unfortunate and embarrassing. I feel really bad for her. It sounds like she's really sensitive about her weight gain. She's allowed to feel embarrassed and hurt over this. You don't owe her anything, and even apologized. Info. How many exes do you have, and how was the breakup with this one? The breakup was amicable. I wanted to relocate for a job opportunity, and she wanted to stay, so we broke up. We didn't feel like we could commit to a long-distance relationship. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister about what her husband sent me 12 days after I lost my son? Me and my husband lost our baby boy, stillbirth, 12 days ago. It gets increasingly hard for us every day, and we're trying our best to remain calm and surround ourselves with our loved ones who support us during these times. Me and my sister are very close. Very close, and we used to spend the majority of our time together. That is, until we both settled down and got married, although she still visits and calls. She's been very supportive and understanding, although my brother-in-law, her husband, tends to be mean and make hurtful comments about me and my husband. My brother-in-law is younger than my husband. He always tries to dictate how my family treat each other and demands to be involved in everything, no matter how big or small. I've distanced myself from him, but I kept in contact with my sister. Throughout my pregnancy, he kept acting strange and making fun of everything my husband and I said about our baby. My sister is currently pregnant. I didn't know that because she didn't tell me, seeing that we're in the middle of grieving, and she probably hasn't found the right time yet. Yesterday, I got mail sent from my brother-in-law. I was confused since we don't talk at all. I opened the envelope to find a copy of a pregnancy test that belongs to my sister with a small note with the words, "I'm so sorry for yours and your husband's loss," handwritten. I was shocked, dumbfounded. I was mad, so mad. This is how I learned that my sister is pregnant for the first time. My husband saw it and he was livid. So we went to see my family and I told my sister what happened. She was upset, but immediately left the house. My mother, father, and older sister were sitting with us, and they argued with me saying I shouldn't have told my sister because I might have just caused a huge issue, and I should have just thrown the mail away and ignored him. My mom freaked out and said that brother-in-law is a jerk, but being petty isn't the answer. She asked if I want my sister to resent my brother-in-law just because we both don't get along. My husband and I got into an argument with her. My dad saw where we're coming from, but said I shouldn't have told her. They themselves didn't know about the pregnancy. They said that my brother-in-law would have told the entire family if he had bad intentions. We left the house after the argument. My mom kept berating me, saying I'm now responsible for whatever happens with my sister. I stopped taking their calls to think about it, and it's terrible. My husband and I decided to go no contact to regain our strength. I don't know if I'll be able to talk to my sister to see what happened with her. My mom keeps trying to call to guilt me about the situation. If your sister's marriage depends on everyone hiding her husband's true personality from her, then it's a mess either way. You're not a a-hole, but your entire family, minus sis with terrible husband, sure is. This hit the nail on the head for me. If I received a letter from a brother-in-law, I would assume it also came from my sister. Since I'm closer to my sisters than I am with their husbands, I would broach the subject with my sister. Opie did nothing wrong bringing it up with her sister. And if she didn't know before how much of an a-hole her husband was, she definitely does now. Seems like she's got some decisions to make before the baby comes. This whole just ignored hate mail crap is infuriating. If my wife had been sent something this freaking malicious, I'd probably be checked for rabies due to the foam coming out of my mouth. Not the a-hole. Christ. Your brother-in-law went out of his way to try to be hurtful to you and your husband. He knew what he was doing. And your sister had a right to know what type of man she married. This wasn't a simple pregnancy announcement. He went out of his way to send you the used tests. Who does that? I'm so sorry for your loss, and for this awful attack that was made on you. Exactly. Her family saying that brother-in-law would have told the entire family if he had bad intentions makes no sense. Him only telling her sister who just lost a baby is the bad intention. He made sure she and her husband knew, but not the rest of the family. That was clearly malicious intent to go out of his way and hurt the sister and her husband. He's incredibly awful, and they needed to know that. But they seem like they're the type of family that would sit on things and not deal with them because they don't want to face anything which causes the victim to be hurt further and the person with bad intent to keep getting away with things. Just sweeping things under the carpet, enabling abusers. 100% not a a-hole. Not a a-hole. Your brother-in-law sounds psychotic. There was no need to send you their pregnancy test. That's some abhorrent crap right there. Anyone saying you've caused drama needs a wake-up call. Your brother-in-law caused the issue when he decided to be a sicko. I am so dreadfully sorry for your loss. I'm sending you lots of love and light. I hope you'll be okay. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for telling my husband that his behavior is completely inappropriate? My husband's mother has never liked me, and she was witchy from day one. Honestly, she never did anything egregious, but I don't tolerate bullying, and he had never been close to her, so we went no contact. We still had a relationship with father-in-law and one sister-in-law, though mother-in-law's other daughter chose not to have a relationship with us. I could tell for a while that it was bothering father-in-law. He was very withdrawn at our wedding. And when I tried to comfort him, he snapped at me that I have no idea how much it hurts to be there without his wife. Mother-in-law almost died over the summer due to a freak accident on a friend's boat. She was in a coma for a couple of days and has had to do physical therapy. Father-in-law called us when she got home and said he can't see us anymore. Because when he was looking at her in a coma, he couldn't live with the fact that he hangs out with people who hate her. And he can't play both sides anymore. My husband got very upset and asked him to reconsider. But father-in-law said from now on they are a package deal, and if we can't respect her, he can't see us. My husband has been devastated, and I've been trying to help him work through it, but he has gone to their house multiple times to talk to his dad. Father-in-law will not see him unless he apologizes to his mom, though mother-in-law said that she doesn't want to see him and doesn't want an apology. The last time dear husband went over there, the sister-in-law we're estranged with called the cops. I sat down with him recently, and we had a serious conversation about how it isn't okay. I said that he needs to respect his dad's boundaries. He can't trespass, and he can't force a relationship. I told him point blank that his actions were completely inappropriate. He is now mad at me for not having empathy, and said that was a robotic response, and he can't lose his dad. Edit for some of the stuff she did. She would not eat my cooking, and clung to father-in-law's arm whining that she was hungry. She was constantly making jokes about my outfits, and my husband must really love me to put up with her frumpiness. When father-in-law bought her things, she would literally be like, "I got something and you didn't." She made jokes about spending all of father-in-law's money because she didn't want us to get any when they died, including sending my husband a picture of a hotel room full of shopping bags and saying, "Your inheritance." She tried to hijack her daughter's wedding and make it a party for herself. She whined and talked in baby talk constantly, because father-in-law thought it was cute. She kept giving me marital advice when she had been asked to stop, and then said I was doing marriage wrong because my husband doesn't baby me. She sprayed me with a hose while she was watering her dog and then just laughed and would not apologize, and said I should get a sense of humor. Now for the top comments. Not Dayhall. Doesn't he understand the concept of no? His parents are telling him no. He needs to respect it and work through his feelings on his own, without repeatedly bothering two traumatized people. The husband doesn't want to lose both of his parents. I do, however, think that his parents are both a-holes. No a-holes here. Your response is logical and he is emotional. You're right, but he's going through a lot. Both the mother-in-law and father-in-law sound like a-holes though. They're pinning this all on you too, rather than accepting that the mother-in-law is just at fault, based on what's provided, for the schism. Can you give some more specific examples of how she treated you? How did you respond? On the face, I agree with you, but it sounds like Opie's leaving a ton out. Going no contact with a mother-in-law simply because they don't get along seems pretty extreme. I would be with you, except for she was witchy to me and honestly never did anything egregious. Almost every mother-in-law is witchy, and we'll put up with that. There are entire threads about mother-in-law from hell with sound reasons to go no contact. To go no contact over witchy behavior, even with your dear husband's blessing, sets you all up for issues later. We were in a no contact situation over some actual egregious behavior from both in-laws, and it ate my husband up emotionally. They are his parents, and I realized if it was perceived that I caused a rift, even though it was joint, he would resent me. While no contact was healthier for me, it was not for him, and therefore not healthy for us. Over time, this may lead to resentment, especially if something happens to his dad and he has not spent time with him. You may become the monster in all of this, because it is easier to blame and lash out at you than directing his guilt and anger evenly. Perhaps seeking a professional marriage counselor with some individual sessions will help you both to navigate this and come through stronger with a way for him to reconnect in some sort of way. There are no a-holes here, yet, but not comprehending the grief your husband is carrying and having empathy would put the title on you. Now for the last story. Am I the a-hole for telling my son he can't live with his dad? My son, 13, I will call him Ray, recently started asking to live with his dad. I currently have full custody and his father, I will call him Adam, is behind $50,000 plus in child support. Relevant to know, he moves around and takes jobs off the books, if he even has a job. I, 30 female, have a steady job, a house where he has his own room, live within a great school district, and provided solely for him his entire life. Adam and I split when he was a baby, and he made communicating hell. He denied it was his son and wanted a DNA test. Spoiler, Ray was his. Adam was deplorable towards me and blamed me for all the terrible things in his life. It got to the point where I had to get a restraining order. I knew Ray deserved a relationship with Adam despite how he treated me. I knew he wouldn't hurt him or mistreat him. Unfortunately, it was open season for me, so Ray got an earful of horrible words about his mother. I never once said a terrible thing about Adam and wouldn't let anyone around us say anything if Ray was around. I let them spend time together and build a relationship. I can't communicate with Adam, so I go through a family member for pickup and drop-offs. I've tried to go through him, but he doesn't allow it. Recently, Ray has gotten into gaming, and he plays with Adam, and I think that's where this all started. Also, my husband and I recently had a baby. Now back to Adam. He doesn't have a steady job, lives with his mom, recently got a DUI and possession, lives in a not-so-good school district, and has no car. If he were to live there, he wouldn't have his own room, and wouldn't be able to do some of the extracurricular activities he does when he is with me. So Ray asked me if he could live with his dad. I was upset, but took some time before I responded because I didn't want to let my emotions make my response sour. I asked why, and he couldn't give me an answer. When I was able to talk to him about it, I told him simply that unfortunately that couldn't happen. I didn't go into too many details. I'm not sure how much I should tell him at 14, and I didn't want him to get more upset with me. He asked a few times, and I tell him the same thing. Am I the a-hole for not talking to him more about him staying with his dad and just shutting it down? Edited to add, he is in therapy, but he hates it. It seems to be starting to help him some. I did bring up some concerns about his dad negatively talking about me to the therapist without my son there, and the therapist point blank asked him, and he said that's not impacting our relationship. Not sure how true it was since I was in the room. He is starting to see all the good things we do for him, and is starting to be more grateful, but still thinks the grass is greener over there. Also, his dad has a toddler, which is in a similar situation with their mother having custody. I have in the past brought up that his dad doesn't live in the best part of town, and we have agreed to have him go over more. All he has to do is ask, or have his dad ask through the family member I'm in contact with. Problem is, neither have asked. I bring it up to elicit a response and get a maybe from him and a definite from the family member. Problem is that's getting exhausting. He has started to go over a little more for more extended periods of time over school breaks, but said he wouldn't do schoolwork if he was there. So that means breaks are the only time he could spend extra time there. Not an a-hole. This might be the time to be more open with him though, and explain your reasons. Just a blanket shutdown is going to lead to resentment. Edited to add, you don't have to tell your son everything, but you should be more honest. Tell him about having to switch schools, drop extracurriculars, or not having his own room. Since his dad's finances sound precarious at best, let him know that living with him may mean giving up some of the constants in his life that he's used to, since things like the internet can be shut off if it's not paid. He also probably won't have access to the clothes and tech and other stuff that he's likely used to. You could tell him at this point that there are some aspects of his dad you've been shielding him from, and that you'll tell him more if he wants to know when he's older. The kid is 13, not 5. It sounds like you helped put Adam on a pedestal, while allowing him to talk you down. The kid deserves most of the truth, even if he's not ready for the full truth. Not a hole. And that's the end of this video, folks. As always, leave a comment and hit like and subscribe. And if you want more of this content, turn your notification on to get updated on the latest videos. And I'll catch you in the next one. Stay safe. Am I the a-hole for keeping no contact with my sister after her husband, my ex, died? When I, 22 female, was 14, I started dating Jace, who was 15 at the time. We were together for 3 years. We'd known each other for years, and I always had the biggest crush on him. My sister Lauren, 23 female, knew. She was one of my best friends, and I thought we told each other everything. But Lauren and Jace were cheating behind my back, and Lauren got pregnant. I didn't know at first and was the first person she told, and I supported her. It was only after she told our parents, and they pushed her to say who the father was, that she confessed. I broke up with Jace, who didn't care. He was done with me and wanted Lauren anyway. Meanwhile, Lauren kept begging me to forgive her for hurting me and begged me to still be close to her. I refused, and when Lauren moved in with Jace and his family, it was a relief. My parents attempted to force forgiveness on me. They took me to a church therapist, and they had a number of talks with me about Lauren being my sister for life and Jace being just a high school boyfriend. All it did was push me away from my parents, and when I turned 18, I moved in with my grandma. I had very low contact with my parents and no contact with Lauren and Jace. They got married just before the baby was born, and I ignored the invite. I ignored them when they had their first and then second kid. Lauren made several attempts to speak to me and apologize more, but I ignored them, and I told extended family that I wasn't going to change my mind. Some were quick to say I was a silly child, and I'd regret throwing my sister away. Others said I was so young, and we both were, and hurting people's feelings when you're young happens. And why couldn't I hate Jace and forgive Lauren? My grandma always said nobody was making it better by pushing. Grandma stood by me through all of this. When Lauren asked her to help pull off a surprise reunion so she could speak to me, Grandma turned her down. She told Lauren she wasn't coming to the house as long as I lived there, and she told her she would not help her trick me, or anything crazy like that. Some of the wider family, my parents included, are mad at Grandma, but she said if Lauren can have her mistakes forgiven by everyone else and be allowed to feel and do what she wants, then I should be given the same grace. But it was always argued that the difference was I was ending a relationship for good while Lauren made a single mistake. Last month, Jace died suddenly. I don't know what happened exactly, but Grandma got the call about it. Then more calls came and asked me to finally move on and speak to Lauren and support her as a sister should. I didn't. I didn't go to the funeral, and neither did Grandma actually. She said even if she had wanted to, she knew the time would be spent trying to browbeat her into forcing me to reconcile with Lauren, and a funeral is not the place for that, so she was removing herself from it. Grandma has been getting grief from so many people in the family who think I should have let go of the no contact now that Jace is dead. Since I never respond to any family members who think I need to forgive Lauren, they go through her. I hate that she deals with it, but she doesn't block them because she wants to see just how far they'll go with her. She said they're helping her trim her will, which I find funny, and I love Grandma's humor. But I feel awful that she's getting the abuse the rest of the family can't give me. It made me want to ask if I'm the a-hole for keeping the no contact going with Lauren, and if people outside my family think I'm a monster. I have the support of friends and also some family. It's just, I know we were really young when all this happened. I know once Jace cheated with Lauren, he would have done it with anyone. So I know it's not like we'd have lasted like I imagined. But Lauren doing it to me just makes it worse, because I loved and trusted her and was there for her. So she betrayed me, and even leaned on me when their cheating led to a pregnancy. Ever since I found out, I wished she wasn't my sister. I could never see even a civil relationship for us in the future. But I'm aware that it might make people think I'm the a-hole and not her, especially now that Jace has died. So, am I the a-hole? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, not even close. Your grandma is a legend. She is. I would have been so lost without her. She's my favorite person, and I hope I can be like her as I grow older. What I think the real problem is here is that every time she's confronted by the fact of your absence and avoidance, it just reminds her what an awful, crappy person and sister she is. It's like an anchor around her neck. The rest of the family sees her being hurt, honestly as she should be, and they want to resolve that. And all you have to do is ignore your pain, lose your morals and dignity, and act like a family member again, so they can all go back to their quiet, happy lives. The cost to you is immaterial to them. They just don't care that this silly childhood infatuation you had ended so badly. Clearly Lauren and Jace were supposed to be together. They got married and had kids. They were the real couple. You were just a school fling. That's all BS, obviously. Your family is avoiding the fact that they probably didn't do more than throw some disapproving glances at Lauren and refuse to accept that she's a cesspit of a human being. You should never back down on this. Grandma is old enough and clearly tough enough to fight this battle. For all you know, she might even enjoy it. So, your sister willingly and knowingly sleeps with your boyfriend and now she wants forgiveness over a mistake? She knew what she was doing, and so did he. If she didn't want to lose the bond you two had, she shouldn't have done it. It's her fault and only hers. And if she wants to point the finger at others, then continue to keep your distance. It's clearly in your best interest. Not the a-hole. Not only that, but I would then be expected to be fine with her and him being together, getting married and having kids together. So it was a mistake, but one I would have to support. Do you still talk to your parents? And if so, are they still trying to force forgiveness? Nope. I don't speak to them anymore. I tried to just be low contact, but they'd use any contact I allowed to try and force forgiveness on me. The guilt trips were insane. Next story. Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my brother's family stay with me after they lost their home? I, 34 male, own a modest 3-bedroom house that I bought 5 years ago. I live alone and use one bedroom as my home office. I work from home full-time, and the other as a guest room and hobby space where I keep my music equipment and gaming setup. My brother, 38 male, and his wife, 36 female, recently lost their home due to financial issues. They have 3 kids, 12 female, 10 male, and 7 female. Their financial problems stem from a series of poor decisions. My brother lost his good-paying job 2 years ago after repeatedly showing up late, then bounced between jobs while his wife worked part-time. They kept their kids in expensive private schools and activities they couldn't afford, refused to downsize from their large house, and ignored my parents and my advice about budgeting. Eventually, they couldn't keep up with mortgage payments and were foreclosed on. When they lost their home, they asked if they could stay with me just for a few months until they get back on their feet. Here's where I might be the a-hole. I said no. My reasons? 1. My house is simply too small for 6 people. They'd need to take over my entire living space. 2. I need my home office to work, and I can't work effectively with 3 kids running around. 3. I value my peace and quiet, and frankly, I don't want my life turned upside down. 4. Their few months could easily turn into a year or more based on their financial history. 5. My parents offered to let them stay in their larger home, but they refused because they don't want to live by my parents' rules. Instead of letting them stay, I offered to pay for a hotel for 2 weeks and help them find an affordable apartment. I also offered to cover their security deposit. My brother exploded, calling me selfish and saying I have plenty of space and am choosing things over family. My parents are torn. They understand my position, but think I could make it work temporarily. Since then, my brother's family moved in with my parents, despite not wanting to earlier, and I'm getting constant texts from extended family about how I abandoned my brother in his time of need. My brother's wife is posting passive-aggressive things on social media about finding out who your real family is during hard times. So, am I the a-hole for not letting them stay with me? Not the a-hole. It's not your responsibility to fix what your brother let fall apart. They should have managed their money better to avoid this situation. Who in their right mind would move an entire family into a house that does not easily accommodate them? Your house is set up for you. I'm sure you would end up being their personal babysitter as well. Things would get damaged, or if they don't want to follow your parents' rules, I'm sure they aren't going to want to follow yours either. Exactly this, not the a-hole. If they won't respect OP parents' rules, they wouldn't respect him either. Not the a-hole. They had a better alternative, living with your parents, that they were against because they didn't want to follow the rules. Unless your parents have insane rules, I'm guessing your brother thought he and his family could railroad you and take over your home completely. You offered a lot of very reasonable help, and if he truly wanted to get his life together, he would have taken you up on your offer to help him find an apartment and pay for the security deposit. Any family members who are giving you a hard time can offer to let your brother live with them. Yep, brother thought he could take over OP's house. One day, OP goes to the grocery store and comes back with the locks changed. OP would lose his house. How many times have we heard that story on various subs? Next story. Am I the a-hole for leaving my husband and kids? Hi everyone. I, 38 female, am a stay-at-home mom. Well, I was until recently. I'm married to my husband, 40 male, and we have twin daughters, 14 female. I left my job about a month ago, but the truth is, I've never been able to hold a job for long since I got married. Every time my daughters get sick, which happens a lot because they both have asthma,
I'm the one who takes them to the doctor, manages their medications, and stays up all night during their asthma attacks. My husband, he doesn't really help with any of that. To be fair, he's responsible when it comes to work and provides financially. Our bills are paid, and we live comfortably. And honestly, I like taking care of the house. Having a clean home gives me a sense of peace. But here's the thing, no one lifts a finger to help me. I cook, clean, do laundry, everything. And when my husband and daughters come home, they just relax. Not even a thank you. They won't wash their own plates or uniforms, even after I've begged them to help. I've had this conversation with them more times than I can count. 5 times? 10? I lost track. But since I'm starting a new job tomorrow, I told them things had to change. I said I keep doing most of the chores, but they needed to do simple things, like washing their own uniforms and not leaving dirty dishes behind. And I told them, point blank, that if I found even one dirty plate left behind, I'd leave and go stay with my mom. They told me I was stressed and gave me this book about how to stay sane as a stay-at-home mom, which made me feel awful. Well, guess what? Today after school, they ate lunch, left their dirty dishes on a table, and went on with their day like nothing happened. Not even 24 hours after I asked for help. So, I packed a bag and left to stay with my mom. And you know what really hurts? They didn't seem to care. No one called me, no one tried to stop me. It's like I'm invisible. I told them I'll be back in a few days, maybe a week, but I feel so empty and unappreciated. My mom thinks I've spoiled them too much, and maybe she's right. But is it really too much to ask for a little help? So, am I the a-hole for leaving? Now for the top comments. Not the a-hole, but stay away and out of contact for longer than you said. If you go back, it will be a defeat, and you will get even less respect than you do now. They think you have a need to be home and cleaning up after them. Prove them wrong. Spend a month out of contact and focus on your new job. If nothing else, I think doing this will change your own view of yourself. I agree with this. And when you do come back, refuse to clean up all the messes that I'm sure will be waiting for you. Force them to do it, or it will defeat the purpose. You're not going to want to hear this, and I say it as kindly as possible, but you and your husband created this. Your daughters are a product of the environment you created. So what do you do now? They don't care you left, but will they care if you take away what does matter to them? Phones, TV, ground them? Don't let them play sports they love. You need to reel it in now and stop spoiling your daughters, because your mother is right. Leaving your kids and your husband isn't the answer. Being a mom that implements appropriate rules and consequences when they are broken is. And you need your husband on board with this. What I don't understand is why these kids didn't have chores to do starting at a younger age than 14. Why do the kids not do what you tell them? You give them a directive and they just ignore you? At 14, they should be doing laundry, washing dishes, dusting, cleaning the bathroom, helping cook, and so on. It doesn't matter if they're boys or girls. All these years you never taught or made them do anything? There were never any consequences for not obeying you. Did you and your husband ever discuss the kids doing chores? And as a team, what consequences there would be for not doing them? As far as you leaving, my guess is they aren't taking you seriously, and my guess is your husband may be telling them not to call you. They think you will let this blow over and come back. Last story. Am I the a-hole for not carrying my son everywhere after he broke his foot? I, 28 male, have an 8-year-old son who broke his foot last week after falling at the park. The doctors put him in a cast, gave him crutches, and told us he should start using them as soon as possible to get used to moving around. My son is pretty used to being babied. His mom, 27 female, and my family tend to coddle him over every little thing. If he trips, someone rushes to pick him up. If he's tired, they carry him. I've tried to push him toward being more independent, but it's been an uphill battle. For the first couple of days, I carried him when he really needed it, getting him in and out of bed, helping him to the bathroom. But once he started feeling better, I told him he needed to start using his crutches. He complained that they were uncomfortable and that his arms hurt. I understood, so I helped him here and there, but I wasn't going to carry him around when he was perfectly capable of walking with them. Then his mom came over. The moment she saw him struggling, she picked him up and started carrying him everywhere. She wouldn't even let him try to use his crutches, insisting he should be resting. She even brought him food on the couch so he wouldn't have to get up. When I told him to at least try walking, she snapped at me, saying I was being too harsh and that he was just a kid. I reminded her that the doctor told us he needed to start using his crutches, but she wasn't interested in hearing it. Then my mom and sister chimed in, saying, "He's just a little boy. Let him be comfortable." I told them that carrying him everywhere wasn't actually helping him. It was just making things harder in the long run. Sure enough, after a few days of practice, he started moving around fine. He still complains sometimes, but he's getting around on his own. If I had just carried him like everyone else wanted, he'd still be acting helpless. I know I made the right call, but with everyone treating me like the bad guy, I have to ask, am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. 8 is old enough to use crutches. Kids younger than that use crutches and wheelchairs. I broke my leg when I was 8. I could almost run on my crutches. Not the a-hole at all. I broke mine when I was 9. The doctor took pity on me 6 weeks in and took the cast off. June heat wave in the days before everyone had AC. I ran through sprinklers on my crutches, won the 3-legged race at the end of school year fun day, swam in the river, went in on the crutches, and my sibling took the crutches back to shore once I was in deep enough water. The only thing I couldn't do was climb trees. OP is definitely not the a-hole. My family tries to baby my son. I remind them continually that I am raising him to be a man, not a boy. We have a cousin who, at 40, still lives with his mom because he's never been asked to face one consequence and has always been babied. Once I say that, they back off for a bit. I also have talks with my son about what successful young men look like, and small amounts of independence per his age are a very important building block. I'm the same way with some relatives with my kids. When they fall, I don't react until they cry or are really hurt. Kids look to the adults for their reactions. Some relatives want to rush to help and even get ice for a tiny bump. It annoys me because I'm trying to raise good adults. I do not want them living with me at 40.